Good morning, everyone. I've decided to split episode 9 into a part 1 and 2 and put that up simultaneously with the prior version, which was the entire 39 or 40 minutes. And by doing that, I can make an episode that's only 22 minutes and a little more bite-sized. So I'm going to maybe try to start doing that with videos, and then you can either watch it in the long version, one continuous take, or you can break it up into 2 parts. I think this particular episode is one of the more important ones, where it talks about Constantine moving the capital of paganism to Constantinople at the very same time as he is setting up the Council of Nicaea. So the Christians just have, we have not been told Christian history. He moved the Delphic Oracle, and then he created the Apollo worship pillar. And these are both by doing that, by moving the Delphic Oracle from Delphi to Constantinople and doing the pillar to Apollo, which happened to have his face in it, he moved the center of paganism from Delphi to Constantinople. So that is absolutely proof that he was a pagan. and we have just been deceived by scholars as well as Constantine himself to believe something false, that he was a true Christian. Okay, so look for part 2 after you've seen this part 1. Hi, everyone. This is episode 9 of our series, Constantine and Paul, and this one is subtitled or entitled Fraudulent Christians, Hiding Constantine's Conclusive Blatant Idolatry and Paganism, Calling Him a Christian. Yes, we're going to see that anybody who's ever claimed, even at the time, anytime after, because of these blatant, out in the open, horrible idolatry and paganism, that the whole of Christianity who was in that region, who didn't say anything, were all had to be bootlickers and connivers. And that also goes for all the Christian scholars to this modern day who just didn't do any research. To me, you just scratch the surface and you find out a few things, and you can't help but see this. So maybe from this point forward, if they don't repent and actually say, oh, okay, all of it was all pagan, this Byzantine Empire was all pagan, because we can see from its root what it really was. So we're going to first take a look at the Oracle of Delphi was moved to Constantinople, and what the significance of that was. That means the center of paganism was moved from Greece to Constantinople. And we're going to see it's directly connected to his Constantine's column, which is really the statue of Apollo with his face on it. And it's a worship of himself as Apollo. And Apollo is the Greek word for Sol Invictus, his god when he was living and staying at the capital of Rome. But now he's made a new capital inside of Asia Minor, modern Turkey. Okay, so let's begin. Hey, everybody. So we'll pick up from this point. Anyway, this is a video from Istanbul today. This was Constantinople in 324 AD, and this is known as the Serpent column. And this is where the Oracle of Delphi, her name was the Python Priestess, and she would sit at the bottom of this. And after there was a ceremony where the worship place for Apollo was, you would come over here, and then you would get your oracles. And this was originally at Delphi, and this was moved in 324 AD to Constantinople by none other than Constantine. If you look at the left from the article Serpent column in Wikipedia, it says it is what we're seeing. It is part of an ancient Greek sacrificial tripod originally in Delphi and relocated to Constantinople by Constantine the Great in 324. So this is just months before the Nicene assembly in 325 in the summer, in June. So it could be no more than about 6 months approximately. And there's no doubt that if you were a Christian bishop or anything like that from Asia Minor, you would know this is the Delphic Oracle having been moved from Delphi to Constantinople to reestablish where her center was. And that's important. On the left top there is the Oracle of Delphi artwork from Luteman, and that shows you she's sitting on what's called a tripod. There's 3 serpent images or statues below her feet. That's what it means by tripod. 3 of them, they were sitting to give her a balance, a way of balancing on. She would go into a trance. She would make her ecstatic voices, garbling. Nobody could understand what she's saying. A garbling glossalia, if you will. And then after she was done, a priest would write down what he interpreted what she said, and there was a customer who was paying for her prophecy, and then she would deliver it. So this is definitely an effort by Constantine to bring paganism into his new capital, and we're going to see how central it was then to have the column of Constantine, which was an image of himself, his face inside it, of the god Apollo. And in Latin, that's the Greek name, but in Latin, his name was Sol Invictus, the god of the sun. So Sol Invictus is the same as Apollo. They're both the god of the sun. One's in the Greek religion, Apollo. One is the god of the sun in the Roman religion. That's Sol Invictus. Okay, and we are going to show you this. This is a coin from 317 AD. So all the Christian bishops from Rome could tell anybody who didn't know this already. And this currency also would have been in Constantinople by 324 or in 325. So this is 8 years earlier. This is the standard coin of the country. And on the left is Constantine's face, and on the other side of the coin was Sol Invictus with the raised solar crown, holding an orb in one hand, and it actually names Constantine on one side and names Sol Invictus on the other side. And it says friend or comitatus or comrade of Sol Invictus is what the message is. So and then just in case you didn't know it, when you're going to see ultimately the face of Constantine, which was engraven as Apollo's face on a statue, beginning in 328 to the end of the empire and then the end of his life, is this is matches the face you see on this coin. So nobody could say they didn't know who that statue represented, even if you've never seen Constantine. So that's now this coin was minted later. Most experts say in I think it's 321, but this is clearly 317. He was supposedly a Christian. So the scholars will claim in 312 AD, but I never actually hear him ever saying he's a Christian. He just says, I had a vision of Christ. I had a vision. He said I would win in this battle. That doesn't mean you're a Christian. You're just telling me you had this experience with Christ. That could be in your religion. That may be something you could accept in your pagan religion. So have you turned your life over to Christ? Are you obeying Christ? No, the guy is a pagan, and more than a pagan. He was worse than a pagan. He's an idolater. All right. And this was his, and just so we know, we're going to put this in context. In November 328, new rituals were done to rededicate the city as the new capital of the Roman Empire. And then it says in commemorarium, Constantine had a statue of the goddess of fortune Tyche built and a column made of porphyry where he placed the golden statue of Apollo with the face of Constantine looking toward the sun. There's the face that's now sitting in a museum. We're going to talk about when this came down. It didn't come down until after 1,100 years well, it came down 1106, apparently, right around that date, by not by the Christian emperors taking it down. No, they would never dare touch this. It was taken down by the wind, meaning by God. God had to do something. They didn't take it down. So a gale wind took it down. Let's keep going. So now we have this is now. By the way, I mean, also this statue, everybody agrees, was likely nude. This is the kind of thing, and that was his. Now he wanted to be known as Sol Invictus, and so that's his Roman name for it, or Apollo. And so this pillar was in the middle of the city, and it had the raised solar crown of Apollo or / Sol Invictus. And then they threw a couple of relics in the base of it. 2 crosses from the thieves were crucified with Jesus were put in the sanctuary at the base. This was just to, I doubt Constantine did this. This was the Christian bishops who were trying to say, well, it's not completely pagan. We put some relics in there at the bottom. I mean, this is pagan minds. This is called synchronizing. You're trying to accept something that's horrifically idolatrous to in your religion, and it's the face of Constantine is the god of Apollo. So he wants people to worship him as Apollo, as the god of the sun. And now who is Apollo connected to? We just saw the Python Priestess. This is his maiden, if you will. Now let's keep going. So let's read a little bit more here. This Serpent column, this is in Wikipedia. Also known as the Serpentine column, Plataean tripod, or the Delphi tripod, is an ancient bronze column at the Hippodrome of Constantinople, known as the Horse Square, in now Istanbul, Turkey. It is part of an ancient Greek sacrificial tripod, originally in Delphi and relocated to Constantinople by Constantine the Great in 324. I'm going to skip a sentence there. The serpent heads of the 8-meter or 26-foot high column remained intact until the end of the 17th century. So this thing remained there with the pagan implications of what it was until the 17th century. Okay, but we'll get into when and how long she actually was able to operate. And as I quoted you originally, it was relocated in 324. So prior to Nicaea, the Christian bishops, the Christian leaders who lived in Asia Minor, which were apparently the majority of people who showed up at Nicaea, would absolutely know that Constantine was recreating the Delphic Oracle as a foundation element of the religion of Greece, was now coming into Rome. And I'm going to suggest to you there had to already be a statue of Apollo at that time, because she has to be done in conjunction with Apollo, as we'll see. All right, we've already read that to you. Okay, so this is the History Channel on the Delphic Oracle's meaning. Okay, so what have I shown you so far? We know at 324, the Serpent column, which is basically the Serpent tripod, comes to Constantinople. We've seen that Apollo's column or pillar is there to represent the place where you can go worship Apollo, which is the god of the sun. And when you look up, it's Constantine's face. And these two things are not accidentally being placed in Constantinople. So let's listen. So I'm going to show you the Temple of Apollo, a place of worship of Apollo, can be outdoors, is had to be in conjunction with the Delphic Oracle because she works for Apollo. So here's what it says at the History Channel. The central and most important part of Delphi was the Temple of Apollo, where the Pythia, that's the Python Priestess, who is a lady. There's always one thing you need to know. So these ladies, there's 3 of them at Delphi, 1 or 2 at Philippi do the same job, and they all rotate their jobs. And they're nameless people. None of them were allowed to disclose their own name, apparently. And the whole system was mysterious. So they were just called the Python Priestess. And they rotated the jobs regularly. And they only had to work a few days a year, so it wasn't a terrible job. Anyway, so the Pythia was the Python Priestess, delivered her prophetic words in the Adotiton, a separate restricted room at the rear. So this was not in the temple, but in a separate room. And I understand it's supposed to be downstairs, and she had to go down some stairs. The Temple of Apollo sat atop a large terrace supported by a polygonal wall. Okay, then it says this. In AD 393, wait, let me just see something else here. Okay, you know what? We got to go back a little bit here. So this is, oh yeah, no, we're still on the column of Constantine, aren't we? Okay. So all right, I'll give you the dates it terminates. So when does it terminate? In AD 393 or 394, the Byzantine Emperor Theodosius outlawed the practice of ancient pagan religions and the pan-Hellenic games, putting an end to the power of the oracle. The temples and statues of Delphi were subsequently destroyed. Well, they'd already been moved to Constantinople, so we're very clear that apparently they didn't understand that. So they were brought to Constantinople in 324. And then Byzantine Emperor Theodosius is living and working in the capital of Constantinople. That's what it meant to be a Byzantine emperor. So this is tolerated from 324 all the way to 390. Let's call it 393. Well, let's make it 394. It's easier to calculate. So that would be, subtract from 94, 24, and you get 70 years. 70 years after Constantine first brought it there, this Delphic Oracle was in business. It was business all the way through Nicaea. It was in business through all the Machinations. It was still in business after the Trinity was adopted at Constantinople in 381. Okay. And the emperor then was Theodosius, and he didn't do anything about this oracle or the statue of Apollo. And no one ever did anything about the statue of Apollo until God had to do something in 1106 AD, as we'll see. Okay, so that's what the column looks like today, by the way, the column of Constantine. The column was surmounted by a statue of Constantine. So now we need to know a little bit more about this column. Statue of Constantine, probably nude in the figure of Apollo. That's the Greek god of the sun, wearing a 7-point radiate crown, and holding a spear and orb. Its appearance probably referred to the Colossus of Rhodes and the Colossus of Nero in Rome. All resembled the solar deities Helios or Apollo. The orb was said to contain a fragment of the true cross. So you could just see synchronizing, trying to placate their own consciences. I doubt Constantine didn't do this. This was the Christian guy saying, why are we putting up with this? Well, there's a fragment of the cross. And so, does anyone really believe that? So somebody had to make up a lie to try to placate the crowd, Christians. Say, hey, well, there's a cross in the bottom there, well, look at it, this guy. It's a statue of Apollo. Somebody would say, well, there's a piece of the cross at the bottom. And the foot of the column was a sanctuary which contained relics allegedly from the cross of the two thieves who were crucified with Jesus Christ. So that makes it all good. At Calvary, the baskets from the loaves and the fishes miracle. And if you believe that, I have a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn. An alabaster ointment jar belonging to Mary Magdalene, and used by her anointing the head and feet of Jesus. These people believe people are fools. I mean, this is a religion that is creating a group of people who are supposed to accept incredible. You'd have to be extremely gullible to believe any of this stuff, and that's what they were depending upon, and coercion and censorship, so that people had no way of understanding what's going on around them, or if they did, they were supposed to shut up. Okay, and I want to show you something else here. Is the proximity between the column of Constantine. Now that's supposedly first erected completely in 328 AD with his face on it and everything. So that's 3 years after Nicaea, and many years before he dies, and many years while he's still allegedly a Christian. This whole time everybody will tell you he's a good Christian man. No, he isn't. Where is this column of Constantine in relation to the Serpent column? So I went to do a map. You can see in the picture on the left, there's the column if you look carefully. And it's there's the Serpent column on the right in the picture now. And we have both now in Google Maps. And we're going to tell you it's 0.34 miles or 550 meters, which is about 1,804 feet. It only takes 8 minutes to walk. So there's a reason why they're this close, because again, the Delphic Oracle, when she operated in Greece, she had to be proximate to the temple because the ceremony. So you would go to the temple, you would pay a priest some money. I want to get a prophecy from the oracle, and then they would go. The priest would then take the cash, and then they would set up a meeting, and then the oracle would do her job, and she was supposed to go down some stairs and have her trance. And now I want to tell you more about her, because this is important to understand why Constantine is doing this. Why does he have now worship center of Apollo, god of the sun, and the Delphic Oracle now transplanted to Constantinople together to again reunited? And here's the reason. And by the way, that by taking it away from Greece, he basically also was stopping her from working there and now working in Constantinople. He's changing, in essence, my point of these quotes is to prove he thinks he's moved the center of paganism. The center of paganism was Delphi, okay, and the subcenter was Philippi, where she had second operation. And so he's moved the center of pagan worship from Delphi to Constantinople. And that's what Christians don't understand. But this is now going to help you understand that. So how could the Christian bishops who were there and Nicaea and all that not know what's going on? How didn't they know about it by 328? Now they all knew. and all our scholars who pretend they don't understand this are just simply placating. I mean, I can't believe any Christian scholar who knows even a semblance of this can honestly argue that Constantine was a Christian, or that any Christian bishop could believe it. They all knew he was a pagan. They all knew this was a lie. According to Greek mythology, Zeus sent out 2 eagles. Oh, but we're leading up to some very important fact about Paul. So wait till you hear that. According to Greek mythology, Zeus sent out 2 eagles, one to the east and the other to the west, to find the navel of the world. So this is going to show you the center of the world is going to be Delphi. And now by transplant, it's going to be Constantinople. The eagles met at the future site of Delphi. Zeus marked the spot with a sacred stone called the Amophilus, meaning navel, which was later held at the sanctuary of Apollo. Greeks believed the site was originally sacred and belonged to Gaia, or Mother Earth, and was guarded by Gaia's serpent child, Python. So that's how she gets into the picture. Apollo killed Python, so she's dead, but she's going to rise again, be resurrected by Apollo, and founded his oracle there. According to legend, natives of the island of Crete, accompanied by Apollo in the guise of a dolphin, arrived at the port of Delphi, Kera, and built the god's sanctuary. Now, this is important for us to understand the connection to Paul. So just be patient. Delphi became a powerful entity with rulers and common folk alike seeking consultation with the Pythia, that's the Python Priestess, who only operated over a limited number of days over 9 months of the year. These pilgrims expressed their gratitude with lavish gifts and offerings. What's more, because of the high demand for the services of the oracle, affluent individuals would pay great sums to Delphi to skip up to the front of the line. So you need to understand, in Delphi, the government ran this as a profit center, a big, huge profit center. So the money that she's making ultimately goes, I mean, they had to pay her and they had to pay all the priests, but literally it was going into the treasury of that city, that municipality in Delphi. And it was created as a separate country inside of Greece, just so that nobody would ever mess with them. Okay. The Oracle of Delphi was consulted on both private matters and affairs of state. City-state rulers would even seek the oracle before launching wars or founding new Greek colonies. So think about it. If countries would go to war or not go to war based on the Delphic Oracle, how important would it be if this woman actually endorsed Paul? That's in the book of Acts, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know it. We're going to show you. Okay. Now, this continues. This is the History Channel. I'm going to repeat that. And under the topic Oracle of Delphi, it continues. For these consultations, the Pythia would enter the Aditon and then sit on a tripod chair. That means 3 serpent statues would form a chair. So they kind of get underneath her and create a place she can sit. She was possibly behind a curtain. After Apollo's priests relayed questions posted by petitioners, the Pythia would inhale light hydrocarbon gases that escaped from a chasm in the ground, falling into a type of trance. And that word in Greek is ecstasis. And that's what Paul had in Acts 22:17. So that means that if you were a pagan reading this, you would go, oh, this is reflecting somebody. Like if Paul had an ecstasy, it means he's having a similar experience to her. And this means he would have a special spell that he could allow to be cast over himself, and he would be able to prophesy and give oracles and be accepted as if he's the word of God. And a pagan who would see that Paul has this kind of experience would assume that Christians have the same understanding that they do, that, you know, if you speak with an ecstasis, you now have the prophetic divination. You can say things and people have to follow you because you have the same power of Python. And that's exactly what Paul says he had in Acts 22:17. But you and I don't see it, but a pagan would, because he used this word ecstasis. Actually, it's Luke giving that account. Okay, so we've just seen, and this is a conclusion of episode 1 of 2, and now you can go to the next episode, which is part 2. But this episode 1, therefore, provides easy proof that you can answer anybody's statement that they believed Constantine was a Christian by sending them just that for this first half that you just saw, because of the three facts here. Constantine moves the Delphic Oracle seat in 324, the Serpent column, to Constantinople. That's in the article Serpent column from Wikipedia. According to History Channel, the Delphic Oracle represented the world center of paganism since the 500s. That's in their video, Oracle of Delphi. Then you have, in 324 AD, that center moved from Delphi to Constantinople. And this fits the next fact, which we know is in November 8th, 324, Constantine consecrated Byzantium as his new residence, Constantinopolis, city of Constantine, with the local pagan priests, astrologers, and augurs. This was because he was moving the Delphic Oracle at the very same time, the center of paganism, to Constantinople. And this process was completed in 328 when he erects the the pillar to Apollo, which is the god of the sun, which is his god. The word Apollo is the Greek name for what he would have known back in Rome as Sol Invictus, which is on his coin program all the way from the early 310s all the way to approximately 321 AD. So he is a sun worshiper, but that statue Apollo showed, it was his face he put on the statue of Apollo, which makes it really, he wanted people to worship him as if he was the embodiment of Sol Invictus. So that's really who he believed was God, is himself, the embodiment of the God and the Son, and he was very determined. And then this is the guy who's making a decision in 325 AD that we have to accept Jesus as God of the same substance with the Father, that Jesus was begotten, not made. Somehow we can accept a contradiction in our minds that he's some eternal being, begotten in some point in time, but he's also never been made. Hey, Constantine, how are we supposed to do that? This is my final decision. And everybody agrees, the record is that he made the final decision when the two sides, the Arius side and the Athanasius side, could not agree. He determined the fate of Christianity. That's the official conclusion, that this pagan made the decision for us. All right. God bless. Look for episode number 2. Look for part 2 of episode 9. Okay. Ciao. Take care. God bless.
How could this ever come to be? The strangest illusion of all time. The head of a lovely girl and the body of an ugly snake. She is positively alive and moving around on the inside of this cage. The angel, the snake girl, with the head of a lovely girl and the body of an ugly snake. She has no arms, no legs, no bones in her body. Yet she will talk to you and answer all of your questions.